Snow White just kind of sucks as a movie, so I wasn't going to see it
Whoa,
initially.
whoa.
Snow White sucks. It's not good.
The original?
Yeah, the original Snow White. It's not good. It's not good. It's boring. Yeah, I said it. There you go.
Wow. I'm a little more shocked at that than what Rachel said.
Hello and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlin. I am one of 6 Infinity Bros. I have another one of the 6 with me. It's Max Mosier. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing well, Isaac. Thank you for having me back. I'm excited to be back here on this episode.
Yeah, get to have Max back on. It's going to be a great episode because we're talking about all the things that Max and I love. We're talking about Marvel. We're talking about Severance, and we're going to be talking about an awesome board game that we both have come to love as well.
That leaves us just with, at that point, Nicolas Cage, Spider-Man, and your wife's bakery. And at that point, we've assembled the 6 Isaac Infinity
and we talked about 2 of those on the Patreon. So if you want to go listen to the Patreon, you'll be almost assembling the whole Isaac Infinity Gauntlet. So there you go.
Your wife makes tremendous pastries and desserts, and she makes gluten-free stuff that's good, which is just mind-boggling to me.
It is mind-boggling because you look at gluten-free stuff and you're like, there's no way that tastes good, right? Like most of the time. She makes good stuff regardless of if it's gluten-free or not. So
she's great.
She's amazing.
Shout out to Mama Halls.
Shout out to Mama Halls. We've talked about all of the things on Isaac's Infinity Gauntlet now, so there you go. All right, first thing we want to talk about, though, is what I mentioned before, a board game that we have come to love. It is a board game called Doomlings, a delightful card game for the end of the world. Actually, we came across this game, I don't know, probably a year or 2 ago now, Max, right?
Yeah. So this is one of those rare moments where the company or organization reaches out to you and says, would you be interested in promoting this? And we were like, would we?
Yes, please.
Yes, we would.
Absolutely.
Doomlings has caused a lot of tension and trauma and drama in our friend group in a good way. And so I'm thrilled to be remotely, and that they would know who we are is just such an honor and privilege.
So a little backstory on that. I mean, that happens with almost every game that we get attached to, is a lot of drama and trauma and tension between our friend group. But Doomlings has become one of those games because it's one of those, it's like, you know, we're all moms and dads with families, and it's hard to get a good board game session in. Doomlings is perfect for that because the setup is like very minimal. Takes 5 minutes to set up. It's just all cards. It's a simple card game. Like, you can explain it and get going in like half an hour. You know, like, it's just set it up and go. For 2 to 6 players, one round is max like 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And rarely will you get that long, unless you've got, like, sometimes when we have a big long table of people with 10 of us or something like that, sure, then maybe one round will take an hour. Just an absolute blast of a card game that is easy to set up, take down. I mean, that's why it's become one of our favorites, I think, is because of the ease and the simplicity of it, while still being a really fun card game.
I would add too, you talked about the easy setup, the explanation. One of the things that I struggle with in this era with board games and with multiplayer card games is what I'll say, where there's just a large quantity of reading. So for example, we play Killer Bunnies, we play DC Deck Builder, which is like an offshoot of Dominion. Part of the tension with these games is you got to read. And in order to read them, if you've never played it, if you're playing for your first time, you feel like you're at a complete disadvantage because you don't know the cards. I think Doomlings does a tremendous job of preventing this from new players. And that's the thing I love about it. I think the catastrophes, which is one of the mechanics that are in the game, really allows you as a new player to have an even playing field. There is a level of reading, but the quantity is significantly less than other card games that our friend group likes to play.
For those of you guys who maybe caught our podcast from Infinity Bro Robbie or Robert Redbeard, Magic is another game that fits in that space, is where, yeah, it's a fun game, but it's like, you got to read meticulously every single card that you're playing. Doomlings, yeah, obviously there's a level of reading there, but it really does even the playing field, so that one person that has maybe played Doomlings 7 or 8 times is about on the same level as somebody who's playing for the very first time. So it is a really fun, really simple game that I would absolutely 100% recommend. We will put a link in the show notes so you can check it out. And yeah, absolutely order yourself a copy because it is amazing. What would you rate Doomlings, Max?
5.5 out of 6. The only thing is I want to see more Doomlings in the households of more people. I wish more people knew about this game. That's my problem, is I have to re-explain it all the time to people. I hate that. It frustrates me.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, I think Doomlings is doing their job. The artwork is tremendous on the box too. I want to make that point too. Like sometimes when you buy games and these boxes, they're either huge or they're clunky or they don't look great on the shelf. This is the one you can put on the shelf at your house in the living room, and it's going to add to the ambiance. It's going to add to your setting really well. Get Doomlings, buy it now. It's a tremendous game. Highly recommend.
Same level. I think it's amazing. It's really fun. Definitely would recommend having in your board game repertoire for just a quick whip it out and play it, get done, and then you can go home. It's amazing.
And if I was Doomlings, I'd send a thank you card to Infinity Brosane because that guy got on it first.
Yeah, for real.
That
He was the
guy
one
on
that
it
got.
first.
Yeah, he was the first one to introduce it to us, and it spread throughout our friend group. So
We played it at Thanksgiving. It was like a huge table playing Doomlings at Thanksgiving. It was awesome.
It was a blast. And like you said, the artwork is really clever and hilarious and funny. It's just overall, it's got great vibes. Great vibes for Doomlings. So
Doomlings is the Deadpool of board games.
Oh.
It is a eclectic personality. It'll make fun of you to your face. It has the ability to have great art, but also it's a charming personality that everybody is invited to be part of. But be warned, if you play with our friends, you may run into people saying things they regret.
As with any board game that we play. So
I don't know if that's every board game, but it's a lot of them.
It's enough. And Doomlings falls in that category.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We've got some big nerd news to talk about.
Hey, Zane, I was looking into getting into this Gunpla thing. There's one called the Unicorn Banshee. What the heck is that all about? Actually, Jarrett, what you're thinking of is RX-0 Unicorn Gundam 2 Banshee, which is from the Mobile Suit Gundam. Actually, you know what? It's time for nerd news.
We've got the Avengers Doomsday announcement that Marvel released last week. They started a Instagram Live video that revealed a chair about every 5 to 10 minutes of a new name that they are revealing for the casting of Avengers Doomsday. And so among the names that were included were Chris Hemsworth, Anthony Mackie, Vanessa Kirby, Paul Rudd, Florence Pugh, Tina Huerta, Simu Liu, Sebastian Stan, Letitia Wright, Eben Moss Barak, Kelsey Grammer, Louis Pullman, Danny Ramirez, Joseph Quinn, David Harbour, Winston Duke, Hannah John Kamen, Tom Hiddleston, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan Cumming, Rebecca Romaine, James Marsden, Channing Tatum, Pedro Pascal, and finally Robert Downey Jr. So obviously massive list of names, which we expected, a massive list of names. Honestly, I did not expect this to be the big announcement that they were going to do because we had heard previously that Marvel was gearing up for this big announcement. I didn't really have an inkling or clue to what it would be, but I don't know. I just felt like they were going to save the cast list for when they had the all-inclusive cast, which I very highly doubt this is because we'll talk about in a bit. There were several names that were left off. What did you think of this announcement, Max, and how do you think the reception was to it?
Okay, Max Mosier's opinion of this was brilliant. Loved it. Loved the idea. I think it was a brilliant marketing idea. Really thrilled at the cast list. I think the cast list is tremendous because it informs me there is more people in it that they're not telling me. I am tickled that there were influencers, YouTubers, people who were stopping their lives for 5 hours to make content on this. I was listening. I have a 45-minute commute at my work. And so the day of, I was listening to, there was only live streams of it. And it was just awesome. Just how they totally hosed and bamboozled these guys. Mm-hmm. And all of them have been since complaining that, it's 5 hours, it was too long. And I'm like, nah, make them work for their money. Make them work for it. They just have to respond to a 3-minute video normally. I thoroughly liked it. I think this was a great way to start this marketing. I think it was a really wise choice to build up Thunderbolts the way they're doing it. Fantastic Four, I think, has the legs to get a good amount of people in the building and in the theaters. But I think Thunderbolts was going to need to be sold a little more. And I think this movie did it, or this movie, excuse me, did it. I love how they incorporated the different tunes with everybody's chairs. I like the roster they have. I do believe there's more to come, but the roster they have to me is sufficient. And I'm excited to see how that goes. So yeah, I'm pumped. I'm happy. I'm a Marvel shill. And I think that's okay for me to say. But I love Isaac when people say constantly, Marvel's dead, we're so back. Marvel's dead, we're so back. I'm one of those people too. I raise my hand at times I do that. And the irony is this is an example of how it's not. 275 million people tuned in to see this. There's no way this movie doesn't crush it the opening weekend. The question is, will it have legs long term to take it to where it needs to go? That opening weekend's going to be chaos. Can't wait. I think the X-Men stuff's great. We'll talk more about that, but that's my long-winded rant about that.
I totally agree with you. I thought it was hilarious as well how all the influencers like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. I can't believe they're making people spend time out of their day to do this. Is like, guess what? You don't have to. You don't have to do that if you don't want to.
Right.
5.5 hours of them revealing a chair was just an absolute genius marketing move, in my opinion. So, hey, it got so, like you said, what was it, like 275 million people to watch it or something like that? Just absolutely insane. I thought it was hilarious. So totally fine with how they did it. I think the more interesting things are who they left off the list, but let's talk a little bit about who they have on the list. So my first like big, I guess, shock was they announced most of the Thunderbolts and Lewis Pullman, who was playing Sentry. So my initial thought was there's going to be some of them that die in this movie. Because Sentry, like if you guys have seen the trailers, Sentry is literally sending people to the shadow realm. Like it's insane what he is doing in these trailers. And even if they survive all of it, they're going to have to kill the Void to get rid of him, right? Like that was my initial thought. Like how do they defeat the Void without killing Sentry? I don't know how they do that, but he's in Avengers Doomsday apparently. So that was a big like kind of, oh my, okay. This guy is still sticking around, and so are most of the Thunderbolts, with one notable exception being Taskmaster, which everybody kind of knew she wasn't going to make it through the Thunderbolts because she's in like one clip and all of the stuff that they released.
And Taskmaster could be recasted.
Oh yeah,
I don't even know the actress's name, and I'm sure you do, Isaac. Forgive me for not prepping accordingly on that. I think Sentry is going to play that role of Molecule Man. The more I thought about this, and I know this is being adapted off the Time Runs Out Hickman run, and it just makes sense that Sentry would be part of this. Even the Void, it would make sense that those two characters would have a place here. Fantastic Four, duh. It was kind of interesting, Isaac. I found an article, this comes from Dark Horizons, that they kind of broke it down, and I hadn't thought about it this way when I heard it, but this is how they broke it down. They said you've got your X-Men characters, so that's Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, James Marsden, Alan Cummings, Rebecca Romijn, Kelsey Grammer, and Channing Tatum, right? And then you've got your Fantastic Four, that's Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, Human Torch, yada yada yada. Then they have the Thunderbolts, which you just referenced. They have Robert Downey Jr., who's like the non-MCU character. And then after that, the Avengers list is pretty slim. It's Thor, Captain America, Shuri, or Black Panther, excuse me, Ant-Man, Shang-Chi, and then Falcon's part of that, I'm assuming. Then after that, it's M'Baku, Namor, and Loki.
Interesting.
Like, that's a small Avengers cast.
Yeah.
So to me, I think this is going to be, the first act will be, if I'm reading it as just this cast list, the first act is Avengers versus X-Men. The second act is reconciling Avengers versus X-Men. The third act is going after Doom. He does the Infinity Snap shtick again, and then we transition into Secret Wars and see what this all looks like at that point. But that was interesting to me, how I think they mixed it up intentionally, because if not, people then would have been able to come up with those theories along the way. It was so good. It was such a funny idea.
Yeah.
Like the Ant-Man chair is super small. I thought that was great.
That was funny. That was a good one.
Super funny.
So
Super great.
obviously you just referenced that the X-Men is a big part of this cast. We've got a lot of the original ones coming back with Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, the original Mystique and Rebecca Romijn, James Marsden, which he has not appeared in anything since the original X-Men movies, and then Channing Tatum as Gambit. That's an interesting one because obviously he just appeared in Deadpool and Wolverine. But I don't know. I find it interesting that they're going back to the old X-Men, and this for me makes me think that these guys are all going to die right away in this movie. I don't think it's Avengers versus X-Men because I feel like they need a little bit more build up for the X-Men characters in the MCU for that. What I think is going to happen is we're going to get an incursion right away in this movie that destroys the X-Men universe, is my thought on that.
And that's kind of what I mean by Avengers versus X-Men, right? Like I think Monica Rambeau comes back in that point too, right? She's in the X-Men world based off of how Marvel's ends. And look, there's a ton of X-Men not in this.
Right.
Rogue's not on this list. Halle Berry's Storm is not on this list. Famke's Phoenix is not on this. Jean Grey. I mean, there's some serious key characters not on this list, much less Hugh Jackman. I mean, you're telling me that guy's not showing up in one of these two movies? Yeah. Give me out of here. If these guys are in it, they're putting him next to them.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They're not going to be in these movies for him not to be next to him. And Deadpool is the crown jewel at the moment of all of this.
Well, yeah, with Deadpool and Wolverine connecting all of these, like this is basically a lead up to what is going to potentially be happening in Avengers Doomsday. So let's transition a little bit to what the names that were left off. So some notable names, we've already mentioned some of them, but Chris Evans, Captain America, Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man as well, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, Halle Berry, Storm, Mark Ruffalo, Hulk, Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye, also Haley Steinfeld's Hawkeye, Evangeline Lilly's Wasp, Gwyneth Paltrow, Pepper Potts, Eamon Vellani, Miss Marvel, Famke Janssen, Jean Grey, Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, Tiana Paris, what was her superhero name? Monica Rambeau. Don Cheadle's Rhodey. Photon, there you go. Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury, Paul Bettany, Vision, and all of the Guardians of the Galaxy. There's absolutely no chance that this is a full cast list. Like there's going to be a lot of these names that are going to appear in it as well.
And I think some people need to prepare for some of these people not being in this movie. I think that's kind of what
true.
With what we learned about Infinity War and Endgame, like Ant-Man wasn't in Infinity War and Hawkeye wasn't in there, but then their addition in the next movie really added to it, right? So I think I'm prepping for a lot of those people to not be in this movie.
Right.
I was going to ask you this, Isaac. What was the most shocking character that was on the list? And what was the most shocking character that wasn't on the list for you?
I already talked about my most shocking character on was Sentry, because I just was like, I was kind of shocked that he was going to make it out of it somehow. My most shocking character off the list is Tom Holland, because he's been such a central character in the formation of the MCU and post Endgame MCU with No Way Home that I was absolutely shocked that he was not on this list. And I 100% believe that he is going to be in this movie, but I wonder what kind of games are they playing to leave him off the list. I don't know. He has to be in it. And it'll be really interesting to see how they play Spider-Man 4, because we've heard a lot of rumors that it's going to be like cosmic based with potentially Null coming into it or some other, and Sadie Sinka casted. A lot of people were fan casting her as Jean Grey prior to her casting. There's a lot of possibilities with Spider-Man 4. So it'll be really interesting to see how they handle Tom Holland, but I'm shocked that they left him out of this announcement, because I 100% guarantee that he's going to be in this movie. I just don't see how you can leave him out of it with how popular he is right now.
I think Strange in them was what surprised me the most, given how much that incursion post-credit scene really made me wonder,
Yeah.
how much he'd be involved in this.
Right.
I think to me, it was Alan Cummings coming back as Nightcrawler. Not a shock at all that Channing Tatum's coming back to me.
No.
He
Right.
crushed it.
And he's been so vocal about like any chance he gets, he's taken it. Like
Right. And
there's
after
no way of
Deadpool,
keeping him
Wolverine,
away.
I think all those people are coming back. Like, I think this leads to one big shot of everybody. Somehow, some way. I don't know how
That would
they're
be
gonna do that.
amazing, dude. I don't know how they do it
gotta
either,
be
but
the
it's
aiming point.
oh gosh,
That's
that'd be
got
amazing.
to be the aiming point at this juncture. Yeah, it shocked me that Doctor Strange wasn't there. It is a little weird to me that Halle Berry wasn't there too, but I still feel like all these people could be in the second one too. And we've seen the leaks, right? We've seen these leaks of the images of what these movies are, and I really think this Secret Wars movie is gonna be. They might two-part this bad boy, man. Like, I'm serious. Like, I wonder if they just make this thing into a trilogy.
With pushing
There's so
everything
much
back,
to do.
I could absolutely see that happening for sure.
I just wonder.
Yeah.
I think Endgame and Infinity War just had the secret sauce of a build-up, and I don't know if they got the build-up.
Right.
But it's so great to see Shang-Chi. It was just so like, I'm so happy he was on the main cast. The way I look at it, he's an Avenger. I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to have Simu Liu back. Super excited for him.
Yep, that's going to be interesting. So you kind of separated that first group into, their respective teams or categories. One team that we've been speculating about specifically on our podcast for a long time is this like champions or young Avengers that seems to be forming in the MCU. And those a couple names that we mentioned with Eamon Vellani and Haley Steinfeld as their respective characters. I feel like they're going to play a big part in the future of the MCU. So I feel like that team has to be like somehow forming through these Avengers movies, because I feel like they're going to potentially be like the new Avengers, like moving forward after this whole Secret Wars like event, So I don't know. I feel like those guys have a big part to play as well. And maybe these Avengers movies will be how they, form as a team.
I do not think they're going to have a big role in these movies. I think they're going to be pushed to the back. I don't want to see them. I think if we're bringing X-Men back, this is a pretty clear thing. Put the best of the best in the lineup. If they struggled or if their movie struggled, give them supporting roles, but get them in it, because that's the point of Avengers movies. And let me remind everybody, Thor, Hulk, and Captain America didn't do great when they came out before that first Avengers movie. And even to the people, kind of, you talked about the Sentry shtick about like, oh, they're kind of spoiling Thunderbolts. No, they're not. With Black Panther, I went to Black Panther and saw an Infinity War trailer before Black Panther.
Yeah,
I remember it. It doesn't matter. I think Marvel thinks Thunderbolts is going to slap. That's what I think.
I think it's going to slap.
I think they feel like they hit a home run. Oh, like it's, how they we just got out of the Captain America season and we were like, right. Oh man, the way they're marketing is kind of weird. I mean, they're trying, but it's not working.
They push Captain America so hard and it seems so forced, but the way they're pushing Thunderbolts, it's different. It's different.
Here's the reason why I think that they got something. They're marketing the A24 thing.
Yeah.
That's how I think
they were. That trailer with all the A24 names. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's how I think they got a big one. Is they're like, yep, let's go ahead and reference A24. Yeah. You don't do that if you don't think you got a good one.
Yeah. That's wild.
The only upgrade of Avengers from the predecessor to the new one is Florence Pugh from Scarlett Johansson. It's not even close. She's so good.
She is great.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I'm so excited for this movie. I've been on the bandwagon of either this is the best move Marvel's ever made or the worst move it's ever made, and I'm like, it's not a middle road, and I'm still like, yep, they're doing the right things, they're saying the right things, they're building it up the way they should. This is how the Avengers movie should be built up. I respect and appreciate that from them. And I think all those little side characters you just talked about should be pushed to the side and given minor or no roles at all. I think Miss Marvel is a terrible character at the moment. Not the actress, the character. I think Kate Bishop's fun, but this movie doesn't work with her skill set. Patriot has had no presence at all. I'm sure Falcon will be there a little bit, but yeah, let's save them for later. Let's give them other options. Let's have them work with Daredevil.
I don't need them to have a spotlight necessarily. Just like see the kind of the formation of the team would be nice in these movies. Just to
that's a post-credit scene in the next one.
We've had so many, like we've had literally what it was it been since Endgame, like 5 years almost almost none of those 5 years post Endgame have been connected at all. So like I'd
Yeah,
like to start seeing that a little bit more with these Marvel movies. Like, hey, yeah, give us a little taste of something here and there that show up in the next movie. That's what I'd like.
Isaac, couldn't agree with you more. I just don't see it happening.
Okay. We shared in the group chat, there's the Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Spider-Man scene. And she says, tell me the truth. I'm ready to hear it. Tobey Maguire says, if the MCU were actually dead, you wouldn't still be talking about it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You and I could not agree
perfect.
more on this.
It's perfect.
Like, right. It's ridiculous. It's the fact that people will go see this movie.
Oh yeah.
Stop it.
This is an easy billion. It's making $1 billion, no problem. The question is, like you said earlier, what are the legs going to be to take it further than that? It's going to be an easy $1 billion, though, for sure.
This isn't a live action remake Disney movie. This isn't like Mufasa or Snow White or Dumbo. This is an adaptation of a tremendous storyline, bringing a controversial character back and letting the new cats, they've been building up these new guys for the last 5 years. It's been polarizing. They get their shot to work together. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And this is like when they did the Avengers, the first Avengers. It was like, oh man, I hope it works. Like, that's how people think. And I love the roll of the dice. I love that they're going for it. I'm in. Yeah. I'm so in on them going.
The haters are so loud online.
Yeah.
That it literally is just like, bro, you're still talking about it.
Yeah.
You keep saying that it's dead, but here you are 5 years later, you're still talking about it. So obviously it's not dead.
I'm so excited because DC's taking off this summer. I'm so excited for Thunderbolts. I'm over the moon for Fantastic Four.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing.
We're hitting the sweet spot. Captain America was meh. But I still think there's time to save it. There's still time to save this stuff. The pieces are there. What a layup for the Russos too. What a layup for those guys. Like, golly, good for them.
Easy money coming back to bring everybody together because that's what they did best. They did that amazingly in, whatever it was, phase 3 or 4 of the MCU. So let them do it again. Why not? Easy money.
Let it fly. Let's do it.
There you go. All right. If you want to let us know what you thought about the Avengers Doomsday castings, make sure to send it to infinitybrispodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. All right, now we're going to shift gears a little bit to a show that we on the Infinity Bros podcast have been pretty obsessed about behind the scenes, but I feel like we haven't been super vocal about it, like on our podcast or on social media and stuff like that. And that is Apple TV's Severance. Season 1 came out, gosh, that was a long time ago already, 2022, which is wild to think about. A 3-year gap, and they finally come out with season 2, which just finished up about 3 weeks ago now, I'm thinking. 3 weeks? 21st. No, it was only like 2 weeks, a week and a half ago. It wasn't even that long ago. It's an incredible show. We'll go into a little bit of non-spoilery stuff first here, but if for those of you who have not checked it out, and I think you're on the same page here with me, Max. If you have not experienced Apple TV Plus as a platform, you need to get a free trial of it like right now, because they are just putting out bangers after bangers for TV shows. Ted Lasso, Severance, For All Mankind. I know a lot of people have been into like Silo and Foundation, some of these other like sci-fi series that they've been
into. The
Morning Show. Yeah. It's among those shows that they're just putting out incredible content right now. And I feel like, I don't know if it's not being well marketed, but they're definitely seeming underrated to me because they're all incredible shows. And Severance is probably among the best of them, honestly. I would definitely put it up there with Ted Lasso of the best of the platform. So if you have not experienced Apple TV Plus, this is a plug for that. Definitely go get a free trial somewhere so you can get a little taste. And I promise you, you will be hooked after that because the shows that they're putting out are amazing. All right, let's get into Severance a little bit. It's a TV show about a team of office workers led by Mark, whose memories have been surgically divided between their work and their personal lives. When a mysterious colleague appears outside of work, it begins a journey to discover the truth about their jobs. So it's been a little bit of a break between season 1. So Max, what I want to know is, what did you think of season 1, and coming into season 2, what were your thoughts about Severance?
Season 1 was amazing. One of my favorite seasons of television ever. I have talked highly of several shows on this podcast. It is in the pantheon of those shows to me. I think season 1 is probably a top 10 season all time to me of television ever, especially the season finale and the last line of that. And if you haven't seen, I'm going to make one more plug. If you haven't seen it, we're going to spoil it from this point on. So thanks for listening to this episode. We appreciate you, but I would highly recommend you don't even listen to anything, know nothing. You probably know too much already by being online. Yeah, I think that last season episode where Mark's excuse me, in the outworld screams she's alive is one of the best cliffhangers ever.
Insane.
And the fact that we had to wait close to 3 years to get an answer on that is just pretty stupid.
Agreed.
And so I think part of the reason that this season has been a pleasant ride for me has been because of the anticipation I had.
Definitely. I'm right with you there. I think season 1, again, like you said, one of the best seasons of television, like, ever. I think I probably would put it on my top 10 all time as well. That would be an interesting list to come up with. We'll have to do that on a future episode of the Infinity Bros podcast. Top 6 seasons of television of all time. That would be
that's a great top 6.
But anyways, yeah, Severance season 1 was incredible. And I know a few people online that we are kind of mutuals with had not caught it and were like binging season 1 prior to season 2. And everybody was like, how have we not watched this show? Who didn't tell us about it? And that's probably just our bad for not telling you that Severance is the best show ever. So you need to go watch it right now. But yeah, season 1 was amazing. 6 out of 6, easy. And season 2 was highly anticipated as one of my most looked forward to shows of this year for sure. And I would say, honestly, probably one of the most anticipated shows of the last like 2-3 years or something, like since it dropped, basically. So season 2, highly anticipated. And honestly, it did not disappoint. So we'll get into season 2 spoilers from here on out. So here is your official spoiler warning.
This is
Prepare yourself.
an Infinity Bros
Prepare yourself.
spoiler warning.
All right, so season 2, we have a few different kind of like main storylines. We've got Mark kind of doing his like disassociation thing. So like obviously, like Max mentioned, that last episode, his Audi comes into the Audi world, says she's alive. And then we kind of get this lady who comes along who's a former employee of Lumen, and she is helping him kind of like regain his memories and try to merge into one person potentially at one point during the show. We've got, and that kind of along the same lines as that is the Gemma storyline, which we get a whole episode focused on Gemma. I think it's episode 7. One of the best episodes of this season. Incredible. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But then we've got like each of the members of his team that kind of go through their own thing. Helly R., who is Helena Egan, a descendant of the founder of the company. She gets transplanted by her Audi in her innie, which that was a crazy, mind-blowing reveal earlier in the season. We've got Irving, who had this relationship with Burt Goodman. Burt Goodman gets fired or whatever, and his innie goes on a mission to basically tell his Audi to go find this guy. And then we've got Dylan, who also is got a lot going on. He's meeting his Audi wife as an innie, which is just, man, there's so many storylines that they're juggling, and I feel like they did it seamlessly in this season. So, Max, I'm going to let you take it. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Oh my gosh, which storyline do I want to talk about?
Yeah.
I guess I'll jump to the end and then go backwards.
Okay. All right.
I think the storyline of Gemma and Mark and Helly is just riveting television. And no matter how you approach or look at the season finale for season 2, you're upset by the outcome. Yeah. You're either upset that he left Gemma out there, and Gemma, who, by the way, has no idea he's been severed. Like, that's just like something I don't think I haven't heard people talk about that. Mm-hmm. That just like, I've made that observation. I'm like, she has no idea. Of course she's losing her marbles.
Right.
She thinks he legit just walked out on her. Mm-hmm. And remember, they were telling her that he met somebody else and is moving on. So like that lie was reinforced in that final scene, which really ticked me off. And then there's the whole Helly R thing where her Audi is this awful person, but her biological father is communicating that she's got some cure in her innie does. And so I'm fascinated to see how they play with that. Like, do they switch places with them in the future? Do we see Helly kind of have a Breaking Bad situation, and Mark has to choose, does he lead this rebellion from the inside, or go back out and let his Audi go out? Like, do they even leave before next season?
Yeah, right.
That to me is the storyline that I'll sit and ponder about. And then the second one will be Cobell's role. I thought episode 8, is it? Yeah, Sweet Vitriol was one of the best episodes of the season. It's the lowest ranked one on all the platforms. And I get it. It's a slower pace. The writing's weird. Patricia Arnett's just weird. With all due respect to her as an actress, she's just a weird person.
I mean, that plays perfectly into her character. Like, that's why her character works so well, because like she plays it so weird, right. And it's just like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now.
I just think that episode, to find out she was the one that made the program.
Yeah.
And I think to see the dissension internally from Helena to Milchick to Cobell and all the innies, obviously, to see the dissension happening in Lumen,
right,
just opens themselves up to a lot of opportunities next year, and or whenever the show releases again. So those are my top two. The third one is what I'm going to call my crack. Well, it's the theory I'm hitching my wagon to. I think Rickon's nuts, and I think Rickon for sure is an outside person working for Lumen. I think Mark's sister might also be working for Lumen too, and I'll get
that
into that
would be wild
too. So I think it's a whole pairing. I don't think it's just one. I think it's both.
I can see that. I could definitely see that. I want to touch on Cobell a little bit, because you hit on something that I thought was just incredible. Like she enters this season as this like hated character. Like obviously she's the bad guy, of season 1, and they build up that tension so well. And then we finally get that reveal in episode 8 that she is the creator of a lot of these, techniques that Lumen is using. And you would not have known that up until that moment that they revealed it. That's the crazy part to me, is that I don't think anybody could have seen that coming. Like, sure, you could have seen that maybe she was upset with Lumen about something, but like that to me was a mind-blowing reveal, and almost instantly made me like her as a character more than I did before. Like obviously she was kind of a hated character before, so it's not that much of a difference to like her more than I did before. But I thought that was just an absolute masterclass in storytelling. I thought that was incredible. Or episode 7, like you said, the Gemma one, another one that was just so well put together. Such a great episode. I don't know if those episodes necessarily flowed well into another, but like as individual episodes, absolutely just perfect episodes. They were just so stinking good. So a lot of really fun things to play with in this season. And like you said, they've opened things up even for season 3 with all of the events that are transpiring. And I do want to give a shout out to, like, I haven't even mentioned him yet, but Trammell Tillman, who plays Seth Milchick.
Trammell Tillman. Oh, by far the best actor in this series.
Absolutely just stole this season. Like this guy, last season, he was just like this minor character who was kind of like this quirky, you didn't think about him too much, but like absolutely took over this season. And the episodes where they're on the like any retreat or whatever, and he's in like that white coat, man, what absolutely insane acting performances by him. And he does have that one scene where he stands up to the Kier like board member guy or whatever, and I think that's probably his best scene in the season. But overall, absolutely incredible performance by this guy. I think he was my favorite part of the season by far. So love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Scott is in his bag in this too, and I think Ben Stiller is a good actor. He might be a better director. He really might be a better director. He does some tremendous work here. I listened to every episode of their podcast after this show, guys. It is a tremendous podcast, the Severance podcast. They break down every episode like you and I are breaking this episode right now down. They have inside baseball. They know it's coming. It doesn't matter. They're breaking it down like a fan. There's just so many, but the attention to detail that Ben Stiller has, the appreciation for every scene, every dialogue, everything from in season 1, the famous dance scene had the lights turn red. That was the first time the cast had ever seen that. So like they use the spaces they're in to their advantage. They use the opportunities they have to their advantage. All the crazy things that we're like, what the heck's going on? They do that to the cast too. So they're getting raw responses. The intrigue and mystery. I do think we got a big, and I reference Lost a lot because I think people look at Lost as one of those shows as like one of those internet shows that people do what we do now, which is speculate, speculate, speculate. I feel like this show's got a direction and they know what they're doing top to bottom, from the writer to Stiller to the actors. They're all in on it. They know what's going on. And I think that's the part that I appreciate the most about this show is I don't feel like I'm being led astray. I feel like the answers are coming at appropriate times. I feel like the decisions they're making are chaotic, but also understandable. I feel like the power dynamics from the innie to the outie and how the outies have kind of shifted power now back to the innies. The innies are now taking control, how they use relationships to their advantage from Bert and Irving. Bert and Irving's relationship is just a pillar in this show, and how it's used in a creative way that is pretty fascinating, peeling back the layers of the history of Lumen. And there's also like wackadoodle theories out there of this show. This show's got the wackadoodle polar bear stuff from Lost, right? Like it's got
Yeah.
it's got goats, it's got pregnancy questions, it's got is somebody been an outie this whole time? I mean, I kind of alluded to it earlier how Rickon and Mark's sister. I'm pretty confident. I feel like Mark's sister is in on this because they needed to get Mark back in the building, and she just was a little too cheeky with how fast and how much she was getting him back in.
Yeah.
And I just think there's a lot this show's got to do. I struggle to even break it down because it would take us an hour each episode.
Yeah. For real.
So I just can't. This is one of those rare things where I just can't even get into the weeds. I can get into the weeds on like one or two things. I can't get in the weeds on the whole thing.
Right.
But this show has done its job. I felt it had a high bar to go get this year. It did it. And I've been thankful for that because that was a lot of pressure to do this well. And I feel like they didn't do everything I wanted. And then they did a lot more in other ways that I didn't expect them to do. So I really appreciate that. And I'm glad we have answers on Gemma. I'm glad we have answers on her. I'm glad we have answers on Cobell. I'm glad we have answers on the inception of this program. And I love the Helly relationship. I love this triangle they've got going with Gemma and Helly. There will be a loser in this. I love that.
There
This
has
is
to be,
like-
right?
There's a loser in this one. Like someone's getting lost.
Right.
And I just got to tell you, I feel like it's going to be Gemma. I feel like Gemma's losing out on this.
Gosh,
And,
that would be so devastating with this like whole premise built upon the the relationship that he and Gemma had, just oh my gosh, that would be absolutely devastating if that happened.
Right. I think Irving's got a big role to play next year. There's been talk of like a resistance of like, what's the resistance to this? I think we'll get to see that more next season. And I'm excited to learn more about the chaotic background of Kier. And I'm not even convinced that they're in. I was listening to one guy who was saying their geography is Canada. Like, I'm not even convinced this is like, they're not telling us about the world in this show. And that interests me. There's
like the little subtle hints when they're on the outie retreat or the innie retreat, and he says this is the tallest waterfall in the world, and it's like 50 feet high, maybe, like
and that's
oh
like
my
an
gosh.
anything, but I just get the sense that we're gonna get some big, like I think of Fringe at the end of season 2 of Fringe, spoilers for season 1 of Fringe, spoiler alert for Fringe. But the main character goes to the alternate universe, and this alternate universe, the last scene is it pans out and she's in the World Trade Center in 2009. Like, I get the sense we're going to see some type of thing like that in this show, that there's going to be a big event that happened that pushed the ball for Severance to be a thing culturally.
Interesting.
I like that. I feel like we have a blueprint of the future. I feel like we now know, okay, Lumen is probably working on a pain-free device. The whole premise is purchase this and you'll never have to live in pain. That makes complete sense. That's chaotic. It's dystopian, but I could totally see it. And so I think they got all the pieces. Bravo to this show. Bravo to this group. Well done. Love it. Love everything about it.
Yeah, I love the interesting intertwining nature of Lumen as this like giant corporation and the role that it plays like in society, and then the fact that Lumen has this overarching like cult system with Kier. I just find it so fascinating that they've intertwined the corporate and like the religious nature of those two. I mean, the world that they've built is so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to see how that plays out in the future. Because like you mentioned earlier that what's his face, Egan, Helena's dad, he sees Kier in Heliar, not in Helena,
Yeah.
his daughter, in her innie in Heliar. So that's another thing that's going to have to like be resolved in season 3 is he going to keep Heliar as the full person, just totally eliminate Helena, which plays right into the whole ethical question of like, okay, if we just stop being an innie or an outie, is that killing somebody? Is that eliminating a person? There's so many fascinating ethical questions that the show brings up that we might not even get answers to by the end of this show. But the fact that they're playing with this, like you said, means that Ben Stiller, I think, is probably a better director than he is an actor. And he's a great actor too. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing him as an actor, but the fact that he's doing this as a director and that he has a vision that I think is going to, come to completion. I think that vision is essential to these shows, so you mentioned Lost. I'm also a big Lost fan, but I think that show lost some vision by the end of it. And I know you don't necessarily agree with that. And I know a lot of other people on different shows, there's shows where like they come up with like 1 or 2 really good seasons. They're really good.
Yeah.
Then
I
they
get what
like
you're saying.
they had so much success that they're just like, oh, well, let's just keep it going. Like let's just come up with more. Let's write more. Let's do more. And they can never capture the success of the first season or 2 because they didn't have that vision initially. I think Ben Stiller has that vision for the entire run of Severance. I'm not necessarily worried about that, but I am very interested to see how the rest of this is going to play. I love that they ended on as big or bigger cliffhanger that they did for season 1. And they have said that it's not going to take as long to come up with season 3 as they did season 2. I don't even know why it took so long. Like 3 years is a pretty long time.
I think Apple drug their feet, and I do not think they're dragging their feet after this. I think they have gotten all the attention they wanted.
Yeah.
Dan Erickson's the writer of this show. That guy's amazing. That's the guy we should be listening to. He writes so well, and Ben Stiller takes it and puts it onto the camera. And that
elevates
to me,
that, right?
Yeah, that is such a duo working together here. And yeah, I echo that, Isaac. I think one thing this show has really captured that a lot of shows struggle to do is the intimacy and the reality of being a person who just works in a day-to-day setting. All the shows we've kind of referenced that, like we've talked about From, too. That's another show I think that kind of falls in the same layer as this. These are all shows where people are trapped somewhere. They're forced to be somewhere, and the reality is where they are is the reason you go. You stay for the characters. You go to the story for the first episode plot. You stay for the interpersonal dialogue. You stay to find out that Gemma's alive. You stay to find out that Cobel's the neighbor, right? Those are the reasons you go, holy crap, I'm sticking around for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with this show, there are so many interpersonal layers. We haven't even touched on like Dylan meeting his Audie's wife. We didn't touch on Irving and who the heck's he calling. We haven't touched on the fact that Bert kind of slipped that he's been there 20 years when it was said that he was there for 12 years. And it's like, okay, what does that mean? Like I've heard some theories that say Bert has never even been severed. He just was
interesting. He was just down there as his Audie.
He was just in there. And I love that theory too.
Yeah.
And that's why that was the hint of him helping Irving at the end is Bert couldn't help it. And so I wonder how this season will go. And then you get into like the cult. the cult behind the scenes. That's the mythology I really hope they start to peel back in season 3.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't do it enough this year. That's my only
See,
ask.
that's a qualm too, but at the same time, the fact that they're not revealing as much about it, just we're leaning into that mystery, mystique, just tension building. And I love how they did it. Would have been nice to get more answers about that, but at the same time, I feel like they're doing a really good job at revealing just what they need to for the time being. And then, at some point, the floodgates are going to break open and we're going to be like, holy crap, this has gone back so long and it's gone so far. It's crazy. I think that at some point there will be a breaking point for that like cult aspect of the Kier worship and stuff like that. So that'll be fascinating to see where that leads.
It's such a great illustration for like your work bubble.
Yeah,
and the things
right?
that only happen at your work bubble that you tell other people and they're like, we don't do that in our work bubbles, or we don't have to deal with those problems in our work bubbles. And it's like, there's so many layered illustrations to this show, how it's talking about race with Milchick and the gal that smiles, forgive me, I'm forgetting her name, just like the huge smile from the staff member. Just that scene, there's no words, and it says everything that you need to know. I really think this show is just so well written. I tip my hat to Dan and Ben on their work on this. And can I rate it? Am I allowed to do this now?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, I think this season was not better than season 1 because I don't think you can I don't think you can do what season 1 did. I think season 1's gonna be really hard to beat. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 6. Though as a season.
Wow, still a 6 out of 6.
I would wrestle with some things in this show, but I struggle too, Isaac, to even rate it until the show's done. With a show like this, I struggle to rate it till the show's done. But what I'm seeing right now, 6 out of 6. I thoroughly enjoyed this season. This show had a huge boulder to move up a hill, and they met every expectation. They didn't do everything I wanted, but they did everything I needed. I did not like the ending of the season. That is one thing I will disagree with you on. And what you kind of said earlier, it's like, oh, it was a similar cliffhanger. Nope, I didn't feel like it was a cliffhanger. I felt like it was an artistic choice, and that's fine. I would have preferred he turned the corner with her and then we just zoom out to Gemma and that's it. That to me was the cliffhanger that we deserved. Instead, they kind of romanticized it, and I think the choice favored Helly versus Gemma when I feel like, and I get it's talking about the Audis taking control, the innies taking control, excuse me. Mark the innie is making a choice for himself. I get the choices. I just wish the show would have remained a little more neutral in its season finale about which side it would have been on to create a bigger discussion and debate. Because I know 2 different people that are on each different side of this. Of it should have been Gemma, it should have been Helly. And so I did not like the season, the last image, but it's not enough for me to mess with rating. 6 out of 6.
So would you have preferred if it's like it stopped with Mark just trying to make a decision? Like we don't know which decision Mark made. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying it should have been him leaving with Helly, with Gemma screaming. I felt like that's his decision. It's final. Instead, they gave us that song. They're running down the hallway. It's kind of making this point of where are they going to go? Oh, they're in love, but it doesn't matter. But also it's them versus the world. And I kind of felt like the cinematography was favoring Mark's decision versus letting the story speak for itself. Super nitpick. I get the significance of the music and the cinematography and the red lights, yada, yada, yada. Again, I've listened to all these podcasts. I just didn't like it. Didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But it's so minuscule in the grand scheme of it that
didn't move your rating.
Didn't move my rating. Such a great show.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a 6 out of 6 for sure. I mean, I think I agree with you too, though. I don't think season 1 can be matched. It would be a big feat for them to match or exceed season 1. But I still think this was absolute top tier television. Everything about it, like the acting, the cinematography, the writing, literally every aspect, if you're breaking it down, is a 6 out of 6 for me. So I think it's a clear 6 out of 6. It definitely deserves to be up there. I mean, I would be absolutely shocked if something else took the place of my number 1 show this year. We'll see. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of shows yet to be aired and stuff like that, but I would be shocked if this is not number one on my list. So
Same.
absolutely incredible season of television for sure.
And I think too, Isaac, this is one of those seasons that to me puts it in the all-time list. This is one of those seasons that makes me go, all right, you did it once, do it again. They did it again. Now I'm like, all right, you're going to be a fan favorite of mine for a long time, right? Like you talk about shows like The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, for me, Lost. Just there's certain shows that you go back to and you go back to see more. You go back to peel back the layers. This show's going to have them all year. I cannot wait to rewatch both these seasons back to back.
Oh man, I got to rewatch them now because I never rewatched it like season 1 before season 2. Just going that flowing into season 2, I gotta rewatch that now. So.
Yeah, my wife and I did that. That's how we handled this season. Was I had her watch before the season 2 stuff came out like 2 months later, so it's fresh. I'm really excited for season 3. I trust these people. Get going right now. Green-lighted Apple. Don't waste your time. Get moving. Put all your money to this. This is Apple's best show. That's the other thing. I think it's better than Ted Lasso right now. Ted Lasso season 4 is coming out, and I'm kind of like, why? Let's get me Severance season 3.
If they had stopped with season 2, I feel like that would have been a best television show of all time contender. Season 3 kind of put a little bit of a damper on that for Ted Lasso. Severance is up there with it for that reason for sure, but like in its own merit, Severance deserves to be in a top 5, shows of all time discussion at least. I don't think anybody can say it definitively deserves to be up there or anything like that, but it's in the discussion for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a pop culture icon for a long time. I also think it really personifies this era of people with social media, with work-life balance, with the socioeconomic standard of people right now, and how the older generation currently has a majority of the wealth and the younger generation doesn't. Yeah, depression, racism, a lot of different topics covered in a very creative way without beating me over the head. And that is, I beg for this in shows. This show does that masterfully. You can talk about anything you want with me as long as it makes sense to the story. And I feel like everything they do, there are personal things that I don't necessarily agree with in this show, for clarity. Political, relationship things like that. Doesn't matter, because I think the show handles it with grace. And I appreciate that. And it's an intentionality that's not just like, we're putting this in here to put it in here. There's an actual reason and paramount purpose to the overall story. I greatly appreciate that about this team.
Absolutely agreed, 100%. If you guys agree with Max and our rating, I know a few of the other Infinity Bros have been watching Severance as well, so I'm assuming this is going to be Infinity Snap. It's an Infinity Snap on this episode for sure. 6 out of 6 average rating is what we call an Infinity Snap. So yeah, it's a great show. Make sure you hit us up at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com or on social media to tell us what you thought of Severance. All right, Max, thank you so much for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Isaac, it's been a pleasure. Your Audi is a great guy too. I think the worst thing I could hear would be my Audi like the Timberwolves tattoos.
Tattoos.
Live action remakes of Disney movies. and WWE wrestling. Like those 4 things were my Audi thing. I'd be like,
and he's just like, what? Are you serious?
I'm an awful person. There you go.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell us what you think your Audi might like on social media or infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 3000. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at The Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send us listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.